I'm really excited to be doing the Take Fives with you over the next 2 weeks. Yes, that's right. If you've just looked on your screen, you're like, oh no, Jake's doing the devotionals. You got me for the next 2 weeks. So yay for you and yay for me. We're going to be looking through one of my favorite books of the Bible, not just the Old Testament, but the whole Bible. It's the book of 1 Samuel. We're going to be working through this together. And I'd love it for you to track with me because there is so much leadership insight. There's so many great, powerful God moments in this story. So many things to draw from. And great, famous stories. You got the David and Goliath story. You got the Ark of the Covenant, which is from that famous, that Indiana Jones movie, which is kind of flawed in so many ways. Anyways, we're not going to get sidetracked. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I do want to share with you some thoughts that I've got written down. So here we go. Let's get into it. We're kickstarting from 1 Samuel chapter 1 and chapter 2, and we've got Hannah, this person called Hannah, who's often overlooked in the story and forgotten about. And we remember obviously Samuel, the book's called Samuel, you can't really forget that. But you've got David, you've got King Saul, who's God's chosen king at the time. He was chosen by God specifically at the time. And you've got these key components and characters that kind of we track with, but we forget about right at the beginning, this person who's often overlooked, this broken woman who's wanting to see breakthrough, called Hannah. And maybe from the outset, I just want to challenge you. Maybe you feel like there are times where you felt overlooked, or you want to see change, you want to see breakthrough, and it starts with her praying and interceding. I love that the story starts in prayer, and prayer is powerful. I love that the verse, I think it's verse 15, where Hannah says, she corrects Eli, the priest, who was supposed to be the godly character. He thought that Hannah was drunk, had too much to drink, and she corrects him and says, "Not so, my Lord. I was pouring out my soul to the Lord." When was the last time that you did that? When was the last time when you took your prayer time, not just said a nice little sweet prayer, but a powerful prayer time where you were pouring out your heart, pouring out your soul, getting to that deep, gritty, real, raw place with God, and just start sharing, start speaking what your heart is. There's desires, there's things that are right deep in your heart. Like David says in the Psalms, as deep cries out to deep. He's talking about that deep place and inside of me that I want to just see something happening. And Hannah's interceding and praying. So much so that the onlookers, or the onlooker at the time, the godly onlooker, thought that she was drunk. And so when was the last time that you prayed in that way? When was the last time that you poured out your soul? And I'd encourage you, if it's been a while, I'd encourage you, it's a really good practice to practice that type of praying, to lament, to go after it, and to get to that real place with God. Pause, break. We're in chapter 2, okay? So we've just done chapter 1. See what I did there? Like it? Nice, cool. We're in chapter 2 now, okay? And I've written this little statement down, okay? Hannah, who's the character in chapter 2, she chose consistency over contentment. Now, being content is good. Generally, it's a positive word, right? Being content in who God is and who God's called you to be, choosing to be content rather than compare, all that, comparison kills contentment, all those kind of those little sayings that we have. But Hannah, I've written this down, she chose consistency over being content. Now, God answered her prayer. She received breakthrough, but she was still consistent in pouring out her soul, consistent in her offering to God. I think that's so powerful, because even when she knows breakthrough and triumph, she's still consistent in her worship. She's still consistent in her praying and interceding. And she says this powerful prayer where she kind of has these tensions about the characteristics of God. Verse 7, for example, in her prayer, she says, "The Lord sends poverty and wealth. He humbles and he exalts." And as part of her worship, she's kind of exalting God as sovereign over everything. And I would encourage us to do the same in our prayers. Sometimes I think we receive plenty from God, right? We see breakthrough and prayers answered, and then we stop. We hit the pause button. And what I'm challenging us to do is to keep pressing in, keep praying powerful prayers, keep pouring out your soul, be consistent. Don't fall into the trap of contentment in your worship and your praying and interceding, But I think God is drawing more from you. He's drawing more from me. He's wanting us to lean into him, to press into his goodness, his faithfulness, his sovereignty. And so that's what I found from chapter 2. I hope that encourages you and challenges you. Be blessed. Bye.